What's up, beautiful people? I'm Nathaniel Pearl.
And I'm Sami Sheva.
And welcome to Curious Chimps Podcast, a show where we explore the infinite complexities of the human experience.
We do not endorse anything illegal, so please consult doctors, do your research, and for the love of all that is holy, be safe. All right, let's talk about drugs.
Curious Chimps.
We are back.
In the studio. Yes.
I don't even know what to say. This is like, I'm so used to looking at you on screen.
I know.
You know?
But when we first came in, I was like, no, it's natural. Then we fucking rap-ate it like we used to, and now everything is like hyper real or surreal or whatever the word is.
This is going to be episode 39. Wow.
Fucking 11 more and we're partying.
Yeah.
50.
There's going to be a big 50 party, and it's going to be hosted in here, I guess, in this whole place. So we're going to get some good food, get some people, get all the old guests. If they want to come, they can come.
That'll be so cool. Remember my idea for like the podcast station?
We're doing that. It's genius.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
This is going to be, well, you know what we'll do? We'll do a live Facebook stream, and this room will just be open. And people come in, they'll do what they want, and it'll just be streaming for like 6-7 hours or however long this party goes for.
I just imagine our past guests sitting down and talking to each other and having the craziest conversations, and we just get clips of it, and it just becomes this like crazy like long like I don't know, we could dude, that's gonna be a fucking editing championship. Yeah.
I don't know about that. I'm just gonna release the fucking 6-hour special. Like, you know
the
what?
Raw footage.
Just listen to whatever you want to listen. Zoom, pass through. We'll put like timers, like in the description. Be like, at 17 minutes, Patrick Owens talking to Chanel.
That's fucking amazing. I can't wait. That's amazing,
dude. You know, I didn't really have an idea what we're gonna talk about today. We never really do, but I'm just feeling like a lot of gratitude for this whole process, and like it's been a journey, man. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like just yesterday we started this thing.
It comes in waves. You just like, it hits you. Like I honestly, I feel the same way. Right after the rap, I was just like, all I could think was thank you over and over. Like to you specifically, but like to myself, to everybody, to everything. Yeah. We hit 1,000 subs. We hit 1,000 fucking subs.
Yeah. That's a weird feeling.
Yeah.
Imagine a place with 1,000 people sitting there looking like that's
us. We're doing that.
Yeah. That's all of us. It's because of you guys and girls and whoever that are listening that this is growing into what it's growing, and it's the beginning. And it's always probably going to feel like the beginning, you know?
Yeah. If we're smart. If we're smart, it's always going to feel like the beginning.
It'd be really cool for those who are fans from the beginning, or even new people are joining in, if you want to just send us like a message or anything, Facebook, anywhere. Just, we would love to hear more from you. And maybe if you have, like, I know we've got some people that actually reached out and wanted to come on, and people who have guest ideas, like, we're open to all that kind of stuff.
We've had a lot of cool people on, and it was like, some of it's just like me or you ideas, you know, a lot you with like some cool ass people, man. And then like my friends come on, and it's just as good. It's a different vibe, you know, but then there's a bunch of people that have been suggested to us.
Yeah.
And they're fucking amazing also. And it's like, it's like fans.
Yeah.
They're just like, yo, I want to see you talk to this guy. And it's like, okay, we'll make it happen.
Yeah. And I realize the bigger this gets, the more it's going to attract bigger names, people with a bigger pull, and just more fascinating people, because they'll look at this and be like, you know what? It's valuable for me. That's just the world we live in. And that's fine. It's just their audience. If they want to spread it, they'll look at our numbers and be like, yeah, you know what? It's actually in my interest to go on to Curious Chimps.
And we're also attracting a type of person, which is a compliment to me and you. Like, I just feel like, oh, like they see our vibe and they go, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to talk to those guys. Like, that's a cool forum.
Yeah.
Like we set it up for them to have a fun conversation. And it's even though there's that background of like, you know, we're putting this online, we're trying to get attention essentially, but that's like I said in the background, like people want to come and they want to talk to us. They want to talk to our audience. They like there's just a vibe.
Absolutely, man.
And it's so dope.
Yeah.
I'm proud.
It's cool. It's really cool. And I like, because we have a pretty broad spectrum of ideas and topics and themes to what the show is becoming and what we wanted it to become, but it's kind of growing its own wings and we're kind of guiding it. But there's been a general theme from whoever we had on. Like, we've recorded a few ahead of time, and just from even those recording, they're like, whoa, this ties into the next episode, but the guest didn't even know about the other episode.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like the theme is there, and I guess maybe it's you and me are attracting that, or we're directing it unconsciously.
We're curious chimps.
That's
Curious chimps.
Someone said it was a curious chipmunks. That's what you thought it was.
I can't find it.
Yeah, man.
That's
And
great.
dude, the things I've learned, like, just there's things that pop up in my head all of a sudden. I'm like, oh, I got that from Steve Maxwell, or I got that from Pat Owens, or I got that from whoever, even Samuel Finn. There's a lot of themes that in my life when I'm training now, there's like these new paths I can go in terms of how hard I push.
Mm-hmm.
Just referencing back to Samuel Finn, just like, oh, when it's go time, you go. You turn off that mind of negotiation, you just go. Whoa,
Okay.
I'm going to turn that off.
What was that?
I think it's just computer notification.
Fucking computer notification. I feel like too chilled out to even talk, man. Rap is a hell of a thing, man. When I first got up, I was like, this is disorienting. And before I even finished the word, I'm like, no, it's orienting.
It's calibrating.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
and honestly, like, oh yeah, coffee, more coffee. I had this constant thank you voice, and it's not what I usually feel after I do rappe. So I feel like I'm doing the work, like something's coming out of it, and it's good. It's like, for me, feeling gratitude. And there's always this double ego game that I'm playing where it's like, am I really feeling gratitude? And then it's like, I don't feel gratitude because I think I shouldn't be faking it or something. And it's like, shut up, just chill out. That's a valid concern, sort of, but like really just like practice what you preach or what you hear, like part of that ego game is listening back to old podcasts, which I avoid because it's like, why am I listening to myself? But if I listen to it like it's not me, and then I listen to, like, Sam Finn is a great one for like motivation and inspiration, almost all of them are.
Yeah.
Like even sometimes when it's just us and we're just riffing, it's a little harder to get it into the third person and to really just listen to it for some reason. But like, fuck, man.
Yeah, I know. It's weird listening to yourself.
Yeah,
even when you've done this 38, 39 times, it's like, but when you turn that little inner dialogue of critique, that's really just the ego, and you just listen and flow with it, it's like, holy shit, wow, there's some really good insights here, something that I can take, something that I said that I've maybe have forgotten, and then it's like a reminder, like, oh, that's what you were thinking, and oh, I need to go more on that path, and there's like, we're putting it all out there. This is us. This is you and me. Whatever's on our mind is coming out, and the David Grillot podcast, the one that's already out, when this one's out, that one, we got emotional, man. And I want to listen to that one back. I haven't yet.
Definitely.
And I feel like it's going to be one of those things where it's like I'm doing therapy for myself and then observing that therapy in a weird way. It's weird.
You're like, the way you're describing it, I feel it's the same as therapy, because it's like you start gaining a trust, and then something kind of opens up, something relaxes. It's like holding a yoga posture, and then like some muscle or something just like expands like crazy, and you feel the difference. Yeah. And you really had to hold it, So the first few times maybe we were tighter, or if there's a new podcast, if we get like a bigger guest or something, like it's going to be playing in the back of our minds. But more and more we're like, we ease into the effort, we ease into the process. And then it does become like, again, like therapy, like more honest as you go. And then we gain a lot out of it. And that might be just the only real value we can bring to anyone who's watching, is like we're just capturing that. And the David one was really cool because it was one of those times when I was like really just enjoying the conversation and not thinking about what does this sound like, because that always comes back a little bit. And maybe it comes back. Maybe that's another reason why I avoid listening to the old ones, because I'm trying to think, like, unconsciously I'm recording this like critique. You know, it's not just that I'm thinking of it in the moment, but I'm also holding on to this like, oh, that sounded good. How do I do that again? That sounded bad. How do I avoid that? And I mean, I'm sure you're thinking of Vipassana when I say stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, dude, craving aversion, like avoid that. Avoid that. We're going to say something stupid. We're going to say something cool. We're literally just like exposing ourselves.
Yeah. And that's a big point that you, especially on air, like when we're recording, is trying to tune out of that dialogue and be like, no, just let it flow. Even if you sound stupid in your own mind or whatever, it's 99% of the time, it's not how it's received on the other end, you know?
For sure. I mean, like there's a few examples, different podcasts where at the time I was maybe like winding up a little bit and feeling tighter about it because of how it was going. And then I listened to it again after and I'm like, oh, this was great.
Yeah.
Or of course it helps also that people are like, yo, that was good. You're like a friend, a family member. It feels a little tilted, a little forced sometimes. And that, again, that could just be our own insecurities. But then you get people commenting and they're not going to say like, oh, that was good. They're going to say like, oh man, that made me think of this. And then they're just having this emotional, this genuine reaction, you know? And then it's so fueling. It's so like, it's amazing. And I love that you just said, I want this to be about gratitude.
Yeah.
And it's literally all I was thinking about after the rapping. Like I didn't know what we were going to talk about. And I'm like, I'm confident in the process now. But as soon as that fucking first one hit my fucking brain, man, I just kept hearing, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh,
and I'm not used to that. So I'm like, okay, like podcast or not, like I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
I'm doing something right. And that's motivating, or it's just nice. It's just like a little less guard with myself.
No, absolutely, man. And how many times do we pat ourselves on the back or maybe just ease off of the momentum we're trying to push ourselves in and just be grateful for ourselves and what we're doing? That doesn't happen too often. But when it does, it's so sweet and so it's like an ease of tension, like you were saying, like relaxing into that yoga pose and just, you know, we need to do more of that. You know, self-gratitude and just appreciating what you have because it's such a blessing what we have.
And it comes in waves.
Yeah.
The things we have come in waves. The gratitude comes in waves. It's just this like...
That's a good point. And it's really important to also, in the moments where you don't feel gratitude, don't demonize those moments either. Those moments are so beautiful in their own. It's the fucking wave. You know, some moments are like you're so happy with what you got, and then moments you wish you had more, or you're just destroyed with what you thought you had, or whatever. That's all part of the game, you know?
You can demonize both too.
Yeah.
A lot of times when I'm feeling grateful, I wanna keep the good feeling going or something. And I catch myself kind of like clenching up and thinking like, oh, when I've done this in the past, I've let go. Lately I've been saying like, I take my foot off the pedal, and then it's like, no, I even take my hands off the wheel. And it's like, that's craving. That's me going, oh, everything's going good now. And there's this unconscious fear that it's going to go away, and I covet it, and I essentially pretend it's not going anywhere. And then you forget about that wave, and the wave takes you.
Yeah.
That I can hear Johnny. He's just he said it so many times, man. It's like, you know, like whatever, like depression or bad feeling you've been feeling lately. And he'll just come in and say, you're just on the wave, man. You're just on the wave. Like you're on a down, you know? He's like, maybe I'm on a down too now, or I'm on an up, but like everyone goes through that. Every single fucking human being on this planet, you know, one way or the other, goes on a up and down. The degrees to which are irrelevant. The comparison makes no sense. Anyway, like everyone knows this stuff. We don't have to go into it, but
no, but you know what? It's so important to mention it because we do live in a weird culture where it's the opposite side. It's the all is good is what is put out in front of you and shown. And it's hard. It's not often you see people be vulnerable in the public eye and stuff like that. And
even that can be tilted sometimes. You know, like you're conscious that you're doing it, and you're kind of doing it in like a in a presentable way.
Yeah.
It gets really squirrely, man. The internet and everything. But you're right. Like I've thought about it. I'm like, where does this come from? Does it come from me? Does it come from my insecurities? Where do my insecurities come from? And then you quickly find, not to go full victim and full blame, but like environment's everything. And the biggest environment for us is this fucking rectangle.
Yeah.
And you can't help but show. You just want to you want to share your successes, you know. So you go on the internet and you find all these people who are like, whatever, you know, the talking heads of the internet, which are they're a dime a dozen now.
Yeah.
And we're kind of one of them now, which is super fucking weird.
Yeah.
But it's easy to feel insecure in the face of so much success.
Yeah.
And that's weird. We're pouring coffee for people who are we're not
No
peeing
one's
corner.
taking a piss here. We got Lily in the background taking a piss.
Maybe into a cup. Is it
Into a cup.
distinct sound? Yeah.
You see, the derail this for a split second. You saw videos of, I think it happened during quarantine, but people taught their dogs how to pee in toilets.
That's amazing. I did not see
It's
that.
the funniest thing. The dog, they like walked into the washroom. The dog's legs are like, back legs are spread against the toilet, and is just plopping in there and just pissing, and then he walks away.
Amazing. I love I've seen like cats like shit in the toilet,
That's crazy.
and you just hear like that little, and then they flush.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part.
That's crazy.
They flush their own dukes.
Yeah.
That's a
Wow.
good trainer. Or a good cat. I don't.
I don't think I could ever get my dog Lily to figure that one out. I could try, but
My friend Jared was trying to teach his cat, and the cat started like shitting everywhere.
oh god.
Like it was kind of working, but it's like it was throwing off his game because he's like, I shit in the box like instinctually, you know. So it's like you're obviously trying to show me to shit somewhere else, and then it just kind of like the wires got crossed.
It's like everywhere? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's funny. One more shit story for animals. I just heard this morning. It was hilarious.
This is what our entire
Yeah,
podcast is just going to be shit stories.
Gratitude and shit stories. My friend told me his cousin has those robotic vacuums that just go around the house circulating, whatever.
Roombas.
That's what it's called. Yeah,
I love those.
I got to get one of those. It's so cool.
They're so funny.
And apparently his dog took a shit,
Oh God.
and the Roomba just went over it and just started smearing it all over the house. And when he got home, there was just
Classic.
like shit stains everywhere, and he had to clean the Roomba, and open it up, and apparently it was like a horrific smell and all this stuff. Oh, so yeah,
Delicious.
that's where that technology backfires.
It doesn't recognize the poop yet. Warning. Danger, Will Robinson.
We've mentioned it many times, I've described it many times, but we're far in now where I can repeat ourselves about Rape, because we did.
As far as I'm concerned, we've already said everything we've already said.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't care. Let's
Yeah.
just keep going. We'll catch something new.
Rape, especially this one, is such a beautiful Amazonian mix of their sacred tobacco, ashes of different plants. Most tribes in the Amazon, in Peru, Brazil, anywhere where they have the Amazon at their fingertips, these tribes create this Rape powder. It's like their traditional powder for that tribe. And what it is basically, it's the tobacco in its most natural form, which is like 10 times the strength of our tobacco.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's not mixed with. It's not like
No.
when people say tobacco, they think cigarettes, and the cigarettes we have, even the rolling tobacco that we have, like it's there's stuff in there.
It's
Like
enhanced. It's meant to make you addicted even,
Mhm.
and always want more and crave. And it's the purity's gone. I don't even know what our tobacco is right now. It's
it's like quick burn paper that's
Yeah.
like treated with something too, probably.
yeah.
and-
If you ever notice, quick burn, it never burns out a cigarette. It just goes to the end, no matter the temperature. I mean, if it's like crazy tornado, hurricane type of temperature, yeah.
That'll just make it burn more. If there's wind, it'll just burn faster.
And that's not natural. That doesn't happen. You know, that's something put in there to increase it. So anyway, this Rape is its purest form mixed with ashes of different plants and herbs. And you basically shoot it up the nostril. Someone usually serves it to you. And they do this in ceremony when they have tribal meetings, when they do ayahuasca. Rape is usually paired with it. And the best way to describe it, if any of you have never heard of it or planning on trying it, is it's just like deeply centering. And when I don't mean that word lightly, it really is centering. And it's hard to illustrate what that means. But I found a comparison is like when you hit that balancing pose in yoga where it's like a warrior pose or whatever, or the toppling tree pose or tree pose. There's like that brief second where you found gravity, direct line through your body, and you got the position. It's there, and you're mindless because as soon as you ever thought you fall off, that's the feeling of rapé. It's just like your entire center, your balance is like purely lined up, and there's just no more room for thought. It's just like a meditative state.
Exactly. Yeah. There's this physical, like, strengthening of like your spine wanting to be straight in a weird way. So there is this literal centering, and then that all of that mixes into like that language is on purpose. You know, like there is this. It feels like heavy, but like in a strong way, not in like a shoulders drooping kind of way, but like in this like solidifying way, and you feel like there's a bar going through your body, like from sun to core of like you're just fong.
In the chakra system, it feels like all your chakras are just lining up perfect energy source, and the flow is just going directly through.
Yeah, there's a lightness, after the obviously, like at first you're like, oh my God, what's in my face?
Yeah.
But then there's this like what's his name? Alan Watts. He would say like when something's working right, you don't feel it. You know, so it's not like I'm aware of my chakra points or something. There's just this kind of like air. There's this like flow that's there all of a sudden, even though there's like a powder in your fucking lungs, you know, and you're like, duh.
Yeah. That's so true though. It's something's working right, you don't feel it. That's so crazy. And it's like, you can use that example for everything. You bang your big toe, and all of a sudden you feel your big toe everywhere you're going, and every movement you're like, fuck, it's fucking toe, you know, but we just take it for granted. You know, all these things are operating perfectly. That's why in martial arts and jiu-jitsu, in anything, when you injure something, I use martial arts because it happens all the time, but let's say you hurt your knee. All of a sudden, you're so aware of how often your knee is being used in every type of position. Rolling in bed. I remember when I tore my knee in wrestling, just like tossing and turning in bed, like we do all the time, was a hassle, and I had to consciously do it because any extra movement really tweaked the knee. And
it changes how you move. It might even change how you sleep, like forever.
Yeah.
You have this unconscious like sleep awareness. You know, like kids used to, like you roll out of your bed when you're a kid because you don't like have it
That's
yet.
a good point. I used to wake up on the floor. It was the weirdest thing.
I love people who grab the blanket and just pass out again. I'm like, huh? And I get back into bed. Some people just like, whatever.
Yeah, so fuck it. I'm here now.
I love it. I'm not an easy sleeper. But yeah, man, it's and then like, you know, you're in the industry of like physical health, and you know about what's the wording, like compensation injuries. You know, like you start having like I have an issue with my knee from a skiing thing that was like years and years ago, like more than a decade ago, and ever since then I've been putting more weight on my left. Like the injury's there, so I'm compensating, but then the injury's like gone or better, and it might even be made better by me starting to put more weight on my leg again. But now it's like my whole spine is a bit different. Yeah. My QL, my psoas, everything is tilting me one way because I'm holding it a certain way, and then that feeds back into my foot positions, and my you know, the arch of my foot might get flatter. Like it's this crazy
it's a chain reaction.
Yeah,
you know, it's a tensegrity.
Exactly. I was just thinking that fucking who's that guy? Functional patterns.
Yeah,
that guy's a fucking genius, man.
Most of his information is derived from
Anatomy Trains.
I
got the book.
Yeah,
it's a dry read, man. I can't get through it. It's like you need it. You need to flip through it once so that you know what's going on, and then you dog ear or you bookmark and you look through it again.
It's like a textbook. Right?
Exactly. It's too much in one shot.
But Steve Maxwell brought that up a lot. Of postural integration. That was the term I was trying to remember what it was, and it's basically anatomy trains, and they're Rolfers, and they do this crazy 10 treatment assessment and treatment on the body, where they kind of remove any traumas that were stored in your fascial tissue. And I did one course like that right after, at the graduation, like at the final exam of massage, I went up before the final exam to the weekend to do postural integration.
Nice.
So it was a course. Tom Myers, one of his colleagues, was teaching it in Ottawa. And dude, I was so fresh from massage. I was just learning, like, when there's pain here, you work on that area and you release the tension here. And I go there and they're like, no, that pain could be coming from your foot, could be coming from your psychological state from when you were younger, or your working habits and your fascia has molded your body into that position. And now you have to reteach your fascia to relax back to its original position.
Yeah.
And then that's what's going to release your shoulder pain. And you could be working on the rib cage or the hips, and then all of a sudden the shoulder feels better.
Yeah, it's
Whereas,
just a little more holistic.
Yeah.
A little more like, what is actually, this is a symptom. This is always, everything is always a symptom, and there's a deeper until you just, until it's so deep, it's no point in even, like, I can't control that.
Yeah.
Like, go do ayahuasca or something. Like, we can't help you.
And what was so crazy was that they took us as an example. We were a group of like 30 people or 20 people, and we took people to come in front of the class and we observed their posture. And there was this one woman, she was, I believe, in her 60s, and she would just stand on a tilt with her ear facing the class, and that was her normal position. And we found out that she was deaf in her other ear, so she needed that ear to hear. So her body, the way he described it was so beautiful. Her body turned itself, her fascial layer turned herself into a giant ear, so she can hear more. So every time she's talking to you, even just in her stance, her left foot's more in front, her right hip's back, and her ear is forward. She's leading with her ear because she can't hear well. So years of just doing that, eventually her body molded into that position.
Years of ears.
I
got that from, it was kind of a mind-blowing education. It's so funny though. It was like in the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movie. I think it was the first one, but like he's hiding and people are looking for him, and he notices one of them's walking like this, like his head's tilted to the left, and he goes like, "Oh, okay, like this guy has like his right ear is hard of hearing or something. Like one of his ears doesn't work right, so he's unconsciously like literally like just pointing because your brain just notices you're getting less information from the other one." So you're reaching.
Yes.
You know, your ears are literally physically capturing the sound, and you just don't even think about it.
And then it becomes your norm.
Yeah, it's something, man.
The body is our canvas. You know, you can map out an entire person's habits and lifestyle through what their body looks like. And that can go very deep in terms of people who are very anxious. You can tell how they carry themselves, and you can tell people who are extra cocky even how they carry themselves. And it's not about you need to puff your chest out and that's the stance that you need to take. There's no right stance.
My friend calls it walking around dick first.
Dick first. Yeah.
You know, you walk like a cowboy, you know, like your feet are out, you know, like you might have flat feet or something, but you have a, you know, again, we always say what's like the chicken or the egg here, but like one way or the other, you're literally, your dick walks through the door first, you know, like it's funny.
And they call that big dick energy too.
Coco, bro. He gave me that one.
Coco, shout out.
I love that guy.
But that's
we gotta get him on. That's gonna be a fun one.
Hell yeah. That's an interesting one though, is because as a therapist, when you see those kind of patterns, it's not about changing that pattern or removing it. It's just about how to enhance and optimize and integrate. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for someone who's like anxiety, we said it on the Steve Maxwell podcast, but like just opening the rib cage and teaching someone who lives out of their chest to breathe through their diaphragm can bring all these thoughts that they never had or that they were suppressing because of the anxiety state. And then when you open the diaphragm and then they can take a deep breath, now all of a sudden their psychology starts changing and their lifestyle starts to change and mold. And then eventually their body will manifest that psychological state and their posture will improve. And that's the deep connection between mind and body. And it's so powerful. And Steve really illustrated that, and it rung with me. It's like, yeah, man, it's that connection is so ingrained, and so it's not one or the other. They influence each other constantly, the mind and the body.
It's intense, man. It's like it could even be a wall. Like from personal experience, lately I've been reading that fucking book there, Presence Process, and it's not like a normal self-help book. Like it really gets you to face some shit, and there is just like a breathing practice, let's say, that they shoot in, like, you know, early into the book. And I notice that it's almost like I want the feeling of security that comes with that rigid kind of closed, like that panic state. In a weird way, it makes me feel safer, even though it's like cortisol and like garbage stress that's going to lead to like diseases if I don't nip it now, you know?
It feels safer.
Yeah. So getting rid of it feels like counterintuitive. So then you kind of hit a wall. that you have to climb over, or whatever the metaphor is, you know, like you have to address it, maybe, if you're like me, you know, like I can't, maybe you don't, maybe it helps to address it, but you're just kind of feeding some you're throwing scraps to the ego so that it doesn't stop you. But the truth is, maybe you can keep just doing that and feeling better and better and better, and it'll just bleed into everything you do.
Well, you hit it from all angles, right?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not attack from all fucking angles?
You know,
Divide and conquer.
It sounds like it's a fragile shell that's maybe not the best method is cracking it open, but just like seeing it from different angles, trying the breath work and trying meditating and trying environmental changes and all that kind of stuff. And then the shell starts to open up naturally. And that's usually the most powerful, longer lasting style of approach than just smashing it down. And now you're broken. And all of a sudden it's like, now I got to put the piece back together, but I'm already broken. So how am I going to fix this?
It's almost like, well, I mean, no metaphors are needed at that point. Yeah, it's like your body wants to go back to that shape. I always talk about osteos or chiropractors like doing these like intense decompressions. And if they're good at their job, then they're going to tell you like, okay, like I've like rocked the boat like crazy now. So you have like some freedom. Use this momentum to like lay a foundation.
Yes.
You know, like I just dug you the hole, but you're just going to fill that hole up again. You know, like you're talking, that was loud.
Yeah.
You're talking about, you know, like you break the walls or you break like the eggshell or whatever of the ego. You don't think about it. You put it back the way it was. If you're in a panic and you're suddenly like naked and exposed, you just go, oh no, and you quickly want it to be back to what it was. Like you don't even think about it. You're just like, oh, I need the shell again, and you end up building it exactly the way it was. Yeah. And it's maybe a little weaker or a little different or something, but there is this kind of instinct's not even the word. It's like just physical memory wants to back to its shape. You know,
you fall right back into old patterns.
What did you call it? Structure? No, postural
integration.
Postural integration. Like when I give people posture exercises now, people want to strengthen things, and like I used to have that mentality also of just like directly changing the thing. But the word integration is speaking to me in that phrase, because what I tell them to do, it's just something I found on like a YouTube video, and it made me click, you know. Like imagine you're flexing your rhomboids or something, so you're opening up your shoulder girdle, and there could be a slew of fucking issues that are stopping you, but a good trick in this instance would be to, like, let's say you go against a wall or something and you get like your good posture. Now start moving your arms.
Yeah.
You know, like teach your body that this is the new normal by doing movements in it. You know, like you're not just going, I'm fixing this, and then it's just going to want to go back because your life, your environment, your modality, it's all shaped to that thing.
Yeah.
Even your clothes, you know, like even the straps on your backpack are set a certain way. Like everything is shaped to that comfort, unconsciously or not. And so it's huge to like. That's why I like yoga for that opening and that holding, and it's great for the body. But like something like Pilates or like a vinyasa in yoga will give you this like this movement in these like kind of more extreme postures.
It's going to integrate it more.
Exactly.
That's why if you heard of Eldoas.
Yeah, you told me about it. I never looked into it too much.
Basically, it was an osteo. I think he's from Montreal that he created the system. But the system is just called Eldoa, this specific one, but you see it in so many different type of trainings. But it's pretty much... It's two counter movements. So you're pressing up and you're pushing down at the same time. So you're decompressing your spine. And there's like so many different movements that decompress specific discs. So if you want to get like L4, L5, you'll do something very specific. But what it is like there's so much activity happening in the holds. It's not just a passive hold. It's like constant conscious efforts. And what's happening is you're basically training your nervous system and your body to decompress and move. And then it's like integration and stretching all in one. It's really cool, actually.
I feel like that's missing a lot in like the, you know, traditional westernized yoga class. There's a lot of good being done, and I don't want to shit on it like I used to, but there's a lot of cues that people are just not aware of, and it completely changes what you're doing. I remember one time when I was first learning this stuff, I told this guy, like my friend Zach, is probably listening, I hope. Son of a bitch, I love you.
Hey, Zach.
We were doing a posture, and he's like pretty fit, you know, he's like a sportive guy. So he's like, I'm not feeling this. And I realized I was doing like this kind of lunge, and I had my hands up to make it harder, like with the balance. And I told him like press your hands together like you're catching a sword.
Hmm.
And it completely changed the whole posture for him. Like this activated his torso, which made him like realize he was twisting, and it completely started stretching his hip area in a different way. And he just went like, oh, like he felt. I saw it in his face, and he told me after. And it's just from practice to think of doing that. And that might not even be the exact right way to do it, depending on your lineage of yoga, but.
No, but like
you don't see it, is what I'm saying. Someone says it, like you see a guy, you're not going to necessarily see his arms flexing or something, but then someone tells you and it rocks your whole idea.
That happened to me in yoga a long time ago. I was getting into back bends, so when we do our sun salutations, I would always lean back, and I would just go, it's so intense, lean back further, and I was actually getting really far back in my back bend, but my hips weren't even engaged. I was anteriorly tilted in my hips, so I was pretty much just compressing my lower back. And then I did one class. It was during the 30-day challenge, the 30-day yoga challenge. It's like day 20, and I go for it, and I felt like this like lock. Mm-hmm. And now I'm thinking about it. So what happened was I was like in so much pain for up to 6 to 8 months, like this pinpoint pain, like at one of my discs. And now after talking with Steve Maxwell, it was also my eagerness and my impatience to get further in my back bend that manifested that lower back pain. And it was just like, yeah, I can go further. And then I realized, no, you have to have stable hips. Everything should be neutral, and then start to lean back from the chest, from the sternum, and from the spine. Not just like bending back and my abs are disengaged. Yeah. Squeeze the belt and then lean back. And I'm telling you, I barely moved back a few inches, but that was the correct way of doing it.
You're suddenly like
but it's stable.
That's a great example for me too. The same posture. You're like you're sun salutationing and you're doing the first lean forward and then lean back. Yeah. And a lot of people throw themselves backwards, and maybe it looks like that, but they're more advanced. They just have a different skeletal structure or
could also
muscular.
Be hypermobile.
That too. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but like for me, there's the ability to kind of just like throw myself. Even though I might do it a little like slowly looking, but there is a point when the muscles let go, and I'm just kind of letting gravity work on me. And in that position, it's not the best idea. No. And then to kind of engage the locks, like to have my core in and up, and to have my chin, like my neck activated so that my spine is strong. It doesn't have to be straight, but it knows it's part of what's going on every time, every posture. Like that's what I realize now. And I really didn't go far back the first few times. Yeah. And now even in my practice, there's like a warm up. The first 2, 3, 6 times maybe, I'm going really not that far back. And then it kind of opens up for real. Yes. Instead of just falling backwards. And that's maybe the biggest thing I got from Steve Maxwell. I got a lot of shit from that podcast. That guy's the man. Yeah. But the slow movement is an honest movement. Yes. And it's like you can whip that.
Conscious movement too.
Yeah, that's true. Everything becomes yoga. Everything becomes like Tai Chi, and it's like this. It's humbling. It's this admission of what your body is actually capable of.
You just did it right before we did this podcast. The pull up. Yeah. Adding a 5 seconds up, 5 seconds hold, and 5 seconds down was brutal compared to just doing 5 or 10 sets reps, just pulling yourself up. And when you're doing,
and my shoulder didn't hurt at all.
Yeah.
Not even, and I went full fireman at the end. Yeah. No pain.
Yeah. And it's that eagerness we have in our training and our day-to-day life that especially will show on the body quicker than in day-to-day life, but it will show on the body because you're eager to get to a position. You'll go faster, and that's where something's going to give out.
It really eagerness, like it's an impatience. I do my whole workout like that now. And 5 seconds up, 5 seconds hold, 5 seconds down. Dude, you get bored. Yeah. You just get straight up bored.
That's why he talks about his workouts are like 30 minutes, 30 minutes.
I can't even do, like, you remember I was doing my circuit and I was getting eager about like adding the whole thing again. Yeah. Because it's like my cardio is getting there and now I want my muscles to get like more of a workout. But the truth is I'm snatching, like even just in a push-up or like the jump squats, like I told him. And he said, like, you don't need to do that. It doesn't give you enough. It's not worth it.
When he said that, I thought about it because I've been doing jump squats a lot in my circuits. And then I'm like, why am I doing a jump squat? What's the point of this exercise?
Is it worth it? I know why I'm doing it because the video I found online, the guy's trying to burn your muscles out and it's body weight. Yeah. So it's like, you'll do pistol squats Then you'll do like they're half bottomed out squats. So like you go halfway up and then down again and then full up again, and that's 1.
Yeah.
And then right after, no breaks, you're doing jump squats. So like you're tearing your fucking muscle and you have no weights other than your body. So I see the logic, but if you go full form and you're not looking for height, like my brother would see that and he's like, where's your box? Like jump onto something, you know, like have a goal, like force yourself. And he's really smart about protecting his joints too. Like he won't jump down. He might step down. Yeah.
It's a better way to do it.
But if my muscles aren't there yet, if I'm launching myself up and trying to get this like explosion, especially that it's the 3rd leg workout in a row, like it's not the point. And the point really is to tear the muscle, but that's the second like priority. The first priority is protect your joints, because your joints don't come back. I mean, you know, in a couple of years we're all going to shoot ourselves with stem cells and shit, but it doesn't mean you're not damaging yourself. And I feel it.
And it's about what's worth it too. You know, what's worth, because longevity is the key. I don't know if you saw Ronnie Coleman. He was on the podcast on Joe Rogan.
I didn't watch it yet. We were just talking about him, and then he comes on. Man, did he bring it up a lot? Did they talk about it?
A lot about his pain, and he has he has 1 disc left. The rest of his spine is fused with 3-inch screws in his spine, and the screws are so big and thick that they're pressing onto his nerves. So he is tingling in his legs. He has lower back pain. His legs, he has to walk around with a walker. And for those who don't know Ronnie Coleman, he was like 8-time Mr. Olympia. I thought it was 3 or 4.
He's our generation's Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
He really...
Incredible.
And look at Schwarzenegger. Yeah. He's still moving around. He's still all right.
Apparently he's in pain too, but he looks good, honestly. He does.
They went fucking balls to the walls.
To be at that level, you have to give something up, you know.
Burning the candle at both ends.
But they're 1% of the 1%. So they're the 0.1%. And that's to be in that elite group, you can't be there with being mindful to your body. You got to give it all. But now he's in a lot of pain, man. And, you know, hopefully he can get through it. But it's like, I can't imagine that.
I don't know. I can't, you're really at the top, and you know you're sacrificing it. You know you're burning your future for now. And he was just jacked. I almost puked when I saw his calves. He was like, you know, he's doing like that. Boo!
Yeah.
Ain't nothing but a peanut. You know, like he's got all these catchphrases and stuff. He's lifting disgusting weights.
I think he was leg pressing 2,400 pounds. Do you know 2,400 pounds is a car?
Yeah, he could lift a car. He could just he can go on the front end where the fucking engine is, and just like lie down on the floor and kick a fucking like a.
That's a different human.
Fucking Toyota. Like yeah, no, it's hard to imagine. Like when you see the mountain there, I forgot his name there, but when you see him like lifting those Atlas balls, and it's pure cement.
It's like 400 pounds.
Like,
oh my God.
But he's a big guy. He's a massive dude. Like Rodney Coleman.
No,
not
he's
particularly
short.
Tall. Yeah,
he's like 5'6", 5'7", man. Small guy.
And you know what? He was a cop. And when I saw him like locker room, like putting on his blues and stuff, I was like, oh my God! Imagine that guy is chasing you.
Yeah. You know, he said it on the podcast that he had no trouble being a cop. No one gave him trouble. He said it 1 or 2 times in his whole career. He had to be a little bit aggressive, but people just like, you got me, man. You got me.
Whoever was aggressive to him was on fucking bath salts, bro. Or blind, or had vision issues, because that dude was just Google him. He mutant, nonsense muscles, like just every vein was popping out, and he would just like he just looked like he was gonna explode. He looked like the dude from Big Trouble in Little China. Like he was just gonna pop. Like just so big, it was disgusting, man.
He comes to your window and just asks for your license.
Every cop should look like that. He's like a bouncer. Yeah. He just looks intimidating. You just stop all crime in his district just by putting posters of him like flexing his bicep or something.
It's funny because he mentioned for his police force, I don't know where he's located, but they had to go through extensive schooling. And they needed like a degree in like, he had a degree in something else, and I think it was a crazy protocol to get to being a cop. So when Joe asked him about like what was there violence in like that in your group, said almost never, because they knew how to handle every situation. They were really good, you know. And I think that's been a hot topic right now, is what's going on with the fucking police and all that stuff. And I think a lot of it is just that I don't know if they're letting anyone be a cop now, but it's just clearly the protocols are not strict or as effective as like an army Marine would be training. You know, and
Like every one of them should be like Spetsnaz. Every one of them should be
Yes.
able to like disarm somebody and like not be afraid of someone if they have a weapon. Like
Yeah,
if you have to be like some 20-something-year-old fucking you know, you're still shitting yellow, as they say, like you're just a baby, you're green.
Yeah.
And like it's a Rogan says it all the time, it's the hardest job on the fucking planet, other than like those crab hunting guys. Like those,
crab fisherman. That's pretty intense too.
yeah, but like you get in, so you have a certain like aptitude with like your gun and your body is a certain physique, and then that's it. You know, like I don't have to take my driver's license again. I don't have to. You know, there's things you just get your license and you're good.
Yeah.
And then these guys start getting fat. It's a stressful job. You're gonna get fatter.
Yeah.
You know, like you have to. You almost need like pros available all the time, like counselors that are keeping you in check.
Yeah.
And
What's
it's-
your psychological state? Are you in PTSD, or like what are we doing for the PTSD?
Again, holistic. You know,
Yeah.
like you're not just. It's not just about how are you physically well, and like when you shoot, especially a pistol, you need to be really calm to have any kind of aim. It's intimidating. It's hard. It's like, I mean, it's intimidating. It's a gun, first of all, but like, it's any little deviation is a huge miss, like past like a certain amount of feet, you know?
Yeah.
And it's you got to be in the fucking zone, you know? And it's they're training you to put your fucking finger on the trigger, like to be ready, essentially. You know, you see those FBI guys when they get
Yeah.
nervous, they put their hand on their,
Yeah.
even if they don't have the gun, it's
It's
muscle
just-
memory. They're just,
Yeah.
and that's a human being. That's
That's-
that's somebody's fucking baby
Yeah.
who you're training to just be in this fight or flight all the time, and then they have to not kill people all the time. You know, like that's
But imagine the paranoia too. Like there,
exactly.
everyone is an enemy in your eyes.
Yeah, look, your fascia is like all set up to be. You're just spring loaded
Yeah.
all the time. I can't imagine. I would never want to do that job.
It's a terrible job. I don't
No,
know. You know, but it's scary to see what's happening and what kind of.
is it scary? It was only worse, right? It's just all being exposed now.
Well,
There's,
that was a big point. It was like, I forgot who tweeted it, but it's like racism. What did he say? Racism isn't new. It's just being filmed or something like that.
I think it was Will Smith.
Yeah, and that hit. It's just now it's being filmed. Now it's being exposed. But it was been like this for so long, and these fucking cops. Some of them with this power hungry mentality, maybe they were a high school bully or just this fucking asshole person, or who knows,
Or
maybe,
bullied.
Yeah, or bullied, or maybe the job just fucked their mind up and they never had any type of therapy or any type of assessment, psychological assessment. And then you see these guys with these fucking files on them of previous misdemeanors and misconducts and all sorts of crazy shit. And then now they finally get caught for the fucking one more thing. But then you look at their folder and there's like 10 fucking things they did. You know, where's the due diligence there? Where's the fucking internal affairs maybe looking at each person, you know?
It's tough, man, because it's like a brotherhood too. You
Yeah.
know? You're going through a crazy experience and you're doing it with a bunch of other people. And even if it's like a person you've never met across the world, you know, like, oh, that guy's a cop too. Like, we're brothers now, or sisters, or whatever. Like,
we got each other's backs.
Yeah,
And
like
this
you-
is our team.
Yeah.
And that's fucked up because that's human nature to be in teams. We see it in sports. People get aggressive. You're a Bruins fan, I'm a Habs fan, or whatever. We're going to fucking fight it out, whether it's physical or verbally. All of a sudden, you're my enemy.
Manchester, the fucking hooligans.
Yeah, and that's such an issue when it comes to when you're supposed to protect the people. Now you're against the people in a sense because it's a brotherhood and it's us versus them. Whenever you have an us versus them dynamic, it's always going to fucking fuck up at some point. It's going to get corrupted.
It's like a highly charged kind of parental thing, and your ego is involved no matter who you are. And like I've thought about it a lot. I've just tried to imagine myself in that position because I've met some fucking cool cops
Yeah, me too.
who've just they're just not like ruined yet or whatever you want to. I don't want to be callous
Or
about it.
maybe
but
those were the ones that are actually fit for the job.
or maybe they're just young.
Yeah.
And like I said, like they're not like something didn't fuck them up yet, you know, or maybe there's something reluctant about it. They don't want to be a cop. They just feel like they should or something. And maybe that keeps them humble. But
I
like,
know a guy from jiu-jitsu. He's been trying to get on the police force in Quebec and they rejected him. So he tried to go to Ontario. This guy is one of the most honest people I've ever met. And like say what you want about cops, but this guy, like, I want him to be a cop. Like this guy is fucking moral. He's rational, and he's just such a good human. And he trains jiu-jitsu. He's like a purple belt or a blue belt. And he was telling me, he's like, I go to the fucking the trainings for the police force, and none of them know what they're doing.
Yeah, they exceed.
Like he said,
all
he just gives them
expectation.
the arm because he like
Because he knows what to do.
yeah,
Like, he just
he's
slips
like,
out.
Okay, here, take it. But like,
Yeah, start on top of me. Let's see what happens, kind of.
but it's people like that. Like that's the kind of people that give me hope that there's still some type of positivity that can go into that field. But it's really just about who they're putting in there. You know, what kind of training these people had.
If you go holistic again, though, it's like
That's what it is,
how
man.
are they being treated after? Like who can they talk to? Like, are they getting paid enough to take months off and recover if they're really like PTSD'd or something? You know,
Yeah.
like imagine all that I just said. Plus, you're in this job where it's straight up us versus them. Like it just has to be that way. You're given authority,
Yeah.
like by the state or the province or the country. Like you're not above the law. That's no one should be, but you are the law. You're the policy enforcer, unfortunately. And those policies can be corrupt, and that's unfortunate too. And it's hard to tell a cop just quit. You know, like this is my life. This is my job. It's like telling truckers they have to learn how to program. Like it's not a nuanced argument, but you are going to face that dynamic where day after day you feel like you're the bad guy, and you're trying to do this because you're trying to serve and protect. Somewhere in your head you want to be the hero.
Yeah.
And that can get ugly in the ego, and again and again and again it's like these people are not listening to me. I'm the cop, they should listen to me. One way or the other. Yeah, one way or the other, you're building that you're either going to get defeated and you're going to slip up, or your day is going to turn into fuck these people.
Yeah.
I'm the cop. No one listens to me, but they got to listen to me. I got the cuffs. I got the badge. I got the gun. I got the siren. I'm the guy.
Yeah.
You start getting that
It's an
that
identity.
bitterness. Yeah.
You know?
And how do you avoid that? It's your job. Every day they're, I don't want to say like brainwashing you or hypnotizing you, but like everything we do daily is a hypnosis.
But
Everything
it's the scenery too. It's just that's the
it's the environment.
yeah. And then when you go in, all of a sudden that's the persona that everyone looks at you differently, and then all of a sudden you have an authority, and whether you like it or not, the environment's going to callous you into this person of, no, you need to listen to what I have to say, or you have to comply to me. I have this power over you, and it's fucked up, man. It corrupts you so easily. I don't know. I can't imagine myself in that position, and I can't imagine myself doing the right thing all the time if I was in that position.
Exactly. That's when you go like, I don't want to be a cop.
Yeah,
And
I would never do it, man.
a lot of times when I think of politicians or police, any kind of like authority, anyone who's like above,
Yeah.
just in one way or another, in a social way, you are above. You have responsibility. In every way, you need to have more consequence, and for all of that combined, people essentially should be forced into this. If you want to be a cop, if you want to be a politician, we got to ask you a lot of questions. But if it's like you are qualified, but you're reluctant, you're going to do your job better
Yeah.
because you respect it. You don't want to be there. You know that you have to be there, and that you do have power. And fuck, man, it's a juggling act. I just can't imagine. I mean, politicians not even fall into that category anymore because it's all crony capitalism. It's all fucking, it's all just money exchanging hands, and we're just sitting here working and getting our fucking paycheck cut in half. And I don't want to get into that because I'm going to get pissed, but like, let's keep the gratitude vibe going.
Exactly.
The rap is wearing off. Let's find some more.
But that's just one more point, is that in martial arts, a good trained, humbled fighter, I'm not going to toot my own horn here, but
Hey man, you're a fucking
from the years,
ninja.
but from the years of training and all that stuff, the last thing I want to do is get into a fight now.
Yeah.
And you would think, I'm not going to speak for all of us, because there is some crazy martial artists that just love it. They crave conflict.
Not if they're black belts.
Even some of them.
Yeah?
Yeah, some of them, like, they just love it. And that's fine. They're the minority in the group. And there's usually contained to competition, but like they're thriving for you to fuck with them in the street. But for the most of us, it's like we have all this contained knowledge, and now we understand the holistic view. And the last thing any of us want to do is get into a street confrontation. And we'll do everything in our power to avoid. And it's really fascinating. It's literally the warrior. It's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in the war. And
Yeah.
it's,
But the worst is thinking that you're one or the other, because that's why I said like, oh no, not the black belts, because I'm surprised. Like I never put the years, and I have like I have a couple of months of judo. I have a couple of years of taekwondo and kung fu. I'm a baby. I'm a white belt in everything, so, or maybe a little bit of extra, but it's when I get bitter, when I get nervous, again, if we're looking at it in this holistic way, it's like my expectation, what I'm bringing to it. I start imagining the worst case scenario and thinking it's almost like a desire. It's almost like if you're not in a good place and you start kind of projecting that what's the word? Like that, it's like it's like you don't want to look vulnerable, so you're puffing your chest sort of because you're actually scared.
Yeah.
And we all go through that. It doesn't matter who you are, Maybe some people have really seen some shit. They're just like comfortable in that area, but then they're maybe a little stuck in the fight or flight all the time. So again, there's a lot of ways to go down that conversation. But I just start picturing these like fights, and it's a weird thing that comes with doing martial arts where you think of the actual physical consequences, and you like, I think of my injuries a lot. Like I think if I get punched in the head once or twice, like it's not good. I've had some concussions, and
that's the knowledge that you attain, right? And then you realize how dangerous it is,
Yeah, it's based on how I'm feeling. It oscillates between a deep respect and a knowledge that I could really hurt myself or hurt that person.
Yeah.
And then that same fear, that same respect can turn into a fear, and then I become kind of outwardly aggressive. So I think at any stage of the game, there's two sides to the coin. So you got to like really be diligent, and really, you need support. We all need support, man. Yeah. That's a lot of that gratitude I was feeling earlier is just like the stuff around me. I have like certain skills. I have certain things I can bring to the world, but I don't know how to fucking make a bottle or a lamp or even fucking muffins.
Yeah.
And I can, there's just so much reliance.
I was telling this to my friends last night that someone told me about this book. I got to find the name of it. I'm going to ask my friend, but it was a gratitude book, and it was this guy went on a quest to thank every single person involved in the cup of coffee he ordered. And when he went down that line, I think it was like 1,000 people he had to thank, and he had to thank the driver, the truck driver who brought the coffee to the store, everyone in the store, the farmers who sold that to the middleman who sold it to the truck driver, the wholesalers, and then he had to go to the farm. I'm really condensing it, but he went to the farm and thanked the farmers, and then the producers of that, and then the people got all the equipment for the farmers and all. And it ended up being like 1,000 people involved in this single cup of coffee.
That's intense.
Yeah, and it's really intense. And that's what I told him last night. I made the comparison is like, that is what we can offer the world by fixing everything internal or self-reflecting on everything internal as much as you can. We're going to make mistakes. We're human. But by working and objectively looking at yourself and always checking your ego in and seeing how can I be this better, do this better, or do that better, how can I improve myself, you're going to have that 1,000 people effect. Whether it's just that one moment you smiled at the stranger just because you were in that good mood because you worked through some shit, and that person smiled at me, and then he goes home or she goes home and all of a sudden a little bit nicer to the next person, and there's a fucking 1,000 person effect, even more than 1,000. I'm just throwing that number out. Yeah. And that is the power we have as individuals, and all comes down to self-reflection and observing the internal that so many of us, me included, everyone included, avoids.
Because it can get away from you. It can get big.
Yeah.
1,000 people, like you're saying, it can be kind of intimidating, but it doesn't have to be. Because like I keep telling myself this quote, and it's going to fucking sink in one day, but Jack Cornfield says, tend to the part of the garden that you can touch.
Yeah, man.
And it takes the pressure off. There's so much that we can think about how we affect things. And it's this butterfly effect, like rabbit hole. That isn't necessarily bad. I guess it just depends the kind of person you are. It can go dark, and even if that doesn't matter what kind of person you are. It's like the flipping through Facebook effect. Eventually, you're just full of cortisol. Eventually, it's just too much, and you don't know what to do.
Yeah. And
that's where this kind of karma yoga mentality comes in, where it's like you have a kind of reality tunnel. You have like a box set. You have like there's things you can do and things you can't do. So at least focus on what you can do, and then start playing with what should I do, what do I want to do. Like,
That's a great point.
it's fucking necessary.
Yeah.
For the cops, for us, for every single person. Like, you can shoot a smile even if you don't feel like it. You know, you can just go like, I know the effect that this will have, and it's a minimal effort thing, you know, and you're making that guy's day, or just making his day a little lighter.
You don't even know what the effect's going to be, and nor does it matter. You know, smiling at the guy just for the sake of smiling, you may, if you zoomed into his life, you may have just brightened up his whole fucking week. But it all came from you just focusing on being conscious of your everyday actions and internal dialogue and all that. And there's so many moments that you pass someone and you don't even think about it because you're in your head, you know, and we're all in our heads and we're all just operating on these
resting bitch face.
Yeah.
I give people a fucking look sometimes, and I feel like I crushed their day. Like I fucking ruined it. I don't, maybe I'm, you know, playing a game in my head. Like I don't have that kind of power, but if someone's in a vulnerable place,
don't even know,
and
man.
you shoot them
Don't even
daggers, like fuck, man.
How many times where someone did something to you and it actually it actually gave you this intense boost of energy all of a sudden, and it's just, I have this neighbor and we've never spoken more than, hey, how's it going? Oh, great, you? But every fucking time I see him, it's the same smile. He's man, how are you? Like he's like I'm his best friend all of a sudden. And for 5 years I see this guy, and I love him to death. But all we've ever said was, hey, and how are you? Good, take care. But it all really started from him. That's his energy he puts out, and every time I see him, instant, I'm happy. I'm just like, oh, fuck yeah. And I look forward to seeing him when I walk my dog. And it's every day. And it's like, fuck, man. That's adding a little spice to my day. And every day that's happening, and that's the energy he's putting out. You know, whether everyone has bad days, but he's still that same smile and everything. And another time I was walking with my buddy around the area, and this guy's jogging, and he's like, man, the weather's beautiful today. It's beautiful. And he just kept running, and we got boosted. Just from that, it's so simple. We got boosted, and we got like, that guy's amazing, man, and strive to be like that guy. And it's things like that. It's such an effect. We see it when it happens to us, but we don't envision we doing that to someone else, because that's the ego, and it downplays yourself. But it happens all the time where if someone boosts you up with like a smile, you're like, oh, I fucking feel good, whether it lasts an hour or the day. But we have that same effect on others. You know, we look at ourselves through this minuscule lens, like that we don't have an effect. We really do. And whether you see it or not, when someone does it to you, you feel it. So it just carry it on like that, you know?
It's this weird, I got this from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but it's such a good episode too, because it's like Buffy's waiting for this vampire to like pop out of the grave, and he ends up being a guy from her school. They know each other. And then he's like a psych major, so like she ends up just sitting there and like talking to him for a while. And he's like, oh, like you're the one who's here to kill me. And she's like, yeah, but like it's not, I don't like doing this, you know? So they kind of have like a nice conversation. It's a really weird episode. It's a good show. Joss Whedon, man. Joss Whedon for the win. Fucking love that guy. And he brings up this he like kind of nails her complex, which is that she has like an inferiority complex, but she also has a superiority complex. Like she is the slayer. She has work to do, and she knows that she's the only one. So she's like amazing about it. But then she feels bad about the fact that she has to recognize her power. So we have these weird complex dynamics sometimes where we feel like shit. Like we know we can do something. We know we have power. And then we're like, who am I though, really? And again, it's like 10th of the part of the garden you can touch. You have all the power in a square, in a fucking postage stamp. But that you're touching all the other gardens. Yeah. You know, like if you let the bugs eat your fucking thing, then you're going to fuck up other people's plants, you know? And like if you like try to steal the sun or cover something, then like you're going to maybe help yourself for a little while, but then you're going to fuck up the other guy, and he's going to have to do something to fix him that might fuck you up. Now you're getting into like the karma realm. Yeah. So it's a sweet spot, essentially. If you focus on the details, you can go inwardly infinitely. And if you focus on the bigger picture, you're going to drown and get stressed out kind of thing. You know, like the person who's swimming in the ocean, if he just keeps imagining how big the ocean is, he's going to fucking give up. He's going to die. And if every fucking drop of water is intimidating you as well, then you're losing yourself in the minutia. There's just this sweet spot that we need to talk about more, because it's not available. It's not on. it's not in social media. It's not on the internet. It isn't the internet. You know, it's like the internet is the antithesis of what I'm talking about. You just get all the levels of zooming in and out, and then every now and then maybe you watch a show on Netflix or something, and it's that sweet spot. But this is just you watching a show. Like you're turning your brain half off and you're consuming whatever's in front of you. I've been watching Community again lately, and I love that fucking show. And it's just like people in a school, and it's that sweet spot. It's the people around you. And it's familiar. You could watch it again, and you can binge, and you can all those kind of negative things. Not necessarily negative, but it's a quality and quantity dance. You know,
it's easy to tune out.
Yeah, and we're not tuning out. Tuning out is restful. If you tune out, if you tune in, like meditation is what I'm thinking of. You could be stressed out because you're relaxing, air quotes, like reading a book or watching a TV show, but you're not relaxing. Your body is relaxing, but your mind is going off.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I can't fall asleep when I watch something. I'm focused in, you know. But when you're meditating, the presence process again. I love this book. The guy keeps saying,
"This book, man,
do it." But you gave it to me, and now I'm reading it, and you're not.
I got to give a shout out. Bianca gave it to me, which I gave to you, which I haven't even looked at yet. But
It's an incredible book. But the guy says meditation is not about feeling better. It's about getting better at feeling. And I was like, ooh, because as soon as you're practicing, you hit all those speed bumps, right?
yeah,
And to sit there and be like, that's the point. Like, just feel that. If you're chasing the bliss, that you're fucked. You're just fucked. You got to find that out yourself there. But like, it's
that's the tough lesson.
David even talked about it.
Yeah.
You know, like having these ayahuasca ceremonies and the first time and for a long time after, it was just this like awakened energy, this alpha brainwave state. And I just feel good. And then the ego starts building on that.
Yes.
The ego is going to take whatever you do and build on it. So you got to really be mindful about that. That's your environment. That's the inner environment.
Mathieu talks about that, the spiritual ego. When that forms, that's a tough one to break down.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's talked about, it's becoming its own cliche, but it is fucking subtle.
Yes.
Fucking subtle.
And it's insidious because you think you're on the right path.
Yeah.
You're doing it right. And that's the beginning of the spiritual ego. I'm on the right path.
You're getting into yoga, spirituality, whatever, ayahuasca, like you're getting into those things because you feel something's wrong, something needs to be tweaked. When you start feeling like you're fixing something, one way or the other, you're like, oh, this is working. I'm on the right path. I am right. You are wrong.
Yeah.
Come to my side. It's like, no, bro. It's never comfortable. It's never, I'm winning. It's never, this is perfect. It's like, I'm glad I'm doing the work. I can let go more now. Someone right next to me, my neighbor, my son, my father, my sister, my mom, my cousin, my friend.
Yeah.
They have their path to walk. I'm going to be there to catch them. That's it. That's all. You're there for them.
Yeah.
Not for their practice, for their betterment, for the future you're imagining for them. None all of that is ego based. No matter how like well intentioned it is. It's bullshit. Yeah. You have to catch them when they fall, and it's inevitable, and you just cross your fingers that someone's there to catch you when you fall, because it just happened. We're all on that fucking wave, man.
Have you ever seen that video? It was a beautiful animation. I'll try to find it and post it on our Facebook page, but it was like an animation that I think they were made out of clay even, and it was just a circle of people around like an indent in the floor, and then in the middle was a little island.
Oh yeah, it was like a stop motion thing
with soup, right?
Yeah.
And they all had giant spoons, and they're all going to try to get the spoon, and they're fighting each other.
And they can't give themselves the soup because the spoon is long enough to get the soup, but not long enough to give it to themselves.
So they end up fighting each other, and then one person smacks the other person's spoon, and it snaps,
or it falls down the hole,
something like that. Yeah,
because there's like a well around, like a donut, but in the center is the spoon. It's a really complicated visual, but like if you see it, it's like, oh. Yeah. Anyway, I keep interrupting you. I love that fucking.
But basically what it was just showing that. Because they were trying to fight for the soup, they're all hungry, and so one person either it breaks or they lose their spoon, and then doesn't get to eat and starts to cry, and then I think one of them just figures out, oh, my spoon's long enough, I can just give it to you. So then he feeds her, and then all of a sudden they all look around and like, oh, that's what this is all about, and they're all just feeding each other, and that's the fucking way it works, man.
That was I think I remember. I don't know if I'm remembering it wrong, but like when they're bickering at the beginning, it's this combination of like that one of the guys loses his spoon. It's like, oh, like that guy has no spoon now. He can never get it, even if we figure it out. So this one, one of the people, this woman, she has this like deep empathy. And then as the other ones are bickering, they almost knock the soup down.
Yeah.
And then she just goes like, okay, like we're being stupid.
Yeah.
We almost lost the soup, and this guy can never get soup again. And then, like, I think someone broke a spoon and then maybe was able to pass it or something. But anyway,
they did.
It's very profound and very. It's not simple because it's a metaphor. It's this allegory analogy. I don't know what the words mean, but it's the solution. It makes you go like, oh God, like I'm living wrong. It's one of those like quick videos online where you're like, oh no, it really is about selfishness and selflessness are two sides of a endlessly spinning coin. Like
what we spoke about too is community, and being there for each other and forming that tight bond in the group, and if you want to narrow that whole theme down to just something simple is paying it forward and giving for the next person. That's the general theme. But like Sami said, that video goes so you can apply that to every moment in your life.
Let's talk about community for a bit because that's elusive for me. Like I always talk about Wolf Lab with Audrey and like I'm so happy for them and what they're doing. And in many ways I'm like jealous or I envy it. I want to have something that I'm passionate about and then I find other people that are passionate about it, and then we work towards it.
Yes.
And then it's like it's not always that close. Like in a way we're all in the human community, so you can extend a certain courtesy to everyone. But there's also things you want to do and things you kind of identify with or want to become, and then you want to look for those people that are going to propel you in that direction or at least help you. And other people are stepping stones and you have to let them go. Like there's so much nuance there. My friends Gina and Ramsey are on this thing called Alpha, and they meet up and they talk about religion. They talk about Christianity.
It's a big group, or
I don't think it's huge, but it's been going on for a long time, and it's like an open forum of like, hey, like we are very spiritual and we believe in God, but for them the context of Jesus is familiar and it's how they were raised. It's what they want to explore, but they're free to ask questions and to challenge it. And they've grown so much just from having that community. And I really want to find something like that. And in a weird way, I feel like I might be just building it all the time, whether I'm aware of it or not. And I'm thinking about what hinders me also, like living in a certain place, having a certain job. It's something that's always on my mind.
Yeah, and I think it's so important to have that sense of community because it's so easy to feel alone or isolated or you're the only one going through X problem or whatever.
It's destructive.
Yeah.
It sucks.
And that isolation, especially right now with this whole COVID and the isolation we're all forced on, this is a moment where community is so necessary. And I think we're all realizing how powerful community really is.
The BLM thing blew my mind, man.
Yeah.
The whole world was like, no.
Yes.
Like last straw. Like
this
fuck
is
you.
It. Yeah.
And however you might feel about that, that's amazing. I keep saying it's like we're testing out the phone system. Like Michio Kaku and Neil deGrasse Tyson. They talk about like
the type 1.
The type 1 civilization, exactly. And for a type 1, it's that you need the phone system. We need to communicate as a whole to get to type 1. And that's what we have is the internet. And we used it. For better or worse, we used it. And everyone was like, we love each other. We need to do better.
And forget the talking figures of our society and our culture. No, we're speaking as a collective. And this is what we feel. And that's the power of the internet.
Yeah, like a decentralized yet ubiquitous, like omni-human voice.
Yeah, and like, hey, we're not being represented. Let's fucking speak up together. And the together I'm saying is the whole world literally spoke up together.
Yeah. Was it you who sent me the Dave Chappelle thing?
Yeah, man.
Was it 846 or something?
846, I believe.
And he's like someone was telling him like, hey, what's your?
It doesn't need to. I don't need to say anything.
What's your take about this? And he's like, let them fucking. No one wants to hear what like Will.i.am has to say or whatever.
Your favorite comedian has to say.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like I'm gonna step out of this one. Yeah. Like the streets will speak for themselves, and it's like Chappelle's awake. He's He's like tuned in and turned on, you know. So it's
Yeah, man.
I'm not surprised.
He's
but
been
I
like
was,
that for years, and
Yeah, that's it.
you know, and he said it best, you know, to sum up this entire movement and what's happening in the world. That Chappelle clip, it like I had to listen to it like 2 or 3 times, and I actually teared up the first time around because it was so pure, so truthful, and so deep and honest, and just the facts are the facts, and the way he formulated his sentences and his imagery, it just, you can't even refute a second of that video. And it's just like, fuck yeah, man, this is what it's all about, and this is what the message is, you know.
He's a bit of a demagogue. Like he's a bit of a it's his job to be a speaker.
Yeah.
So it's dangerous sometimes that he has that power to be irrefutable.
But he said a great point. He said the reason he realized, this made him realize why people want him to speak. It's because they trust him.
And and even more to his ability to be trusted, he kind of like refused the call.
Yeah.
He's like, no, now is not my time.
Yeah.
And then again, he's saying that on stage.
Yeah.
Like it's it's weird.
Yeah.
But it works. I don't know. I'm just a fan of him, so it's like I have like Chappelle goggles on.
But fuck, me too, man. But yeah, man, that's the fucking street speaking in his terms. And this, as I say, the street speaking, that's like the fucking whole world. There's like protests everywhere, and it's because it's time. It's enough of the bullshit. I want to be heard. I want to speak out, and this is what the fuck's wrong, and this is what's got to change right now. Not tomorrow, not the next day, not yesterday, right now. Or it should have been yesterday, but it's right now. And you're seeing, it's incredible to see. And you know, there's people fucking trying to rationalize these things, like, oh, why you have to tear down these stores or whatever. Say what you want. The message is getting heard.
There's always,
you know?
People are always going to fluctuate to different like levels of the perspective.
It's like red herrings, right? It's like, oh, you're doing this. Look at the message. Look at what's trying to be said, and try to put yourself in the position of not being heard for so long. You know.
But the crazy part is everybody feels that way.
Yeah.
The Black Lives Matter thing is, I mean, I'm a white guy. I don't want to talk about this. I feel very uncomfortable already. But they're the poster child.
Yeah.
They're the freaking. If you want to talk about police brutality and wealth disparity, it's something that affects everybody. And I don't want to do this all lives matter versus Black Lives Matter. It's such a fucking stupid button. Yeah. Keep your catchphrases. The point is, we keep talking about the holistic side of it. And when you look at those two things, then you start talking about politics, the economy, physical and mental health. Like you can't, everything is fucking connected.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are trying to attack the branches, and a few people are like punching the trunk, but a lot of people like us, it may not be useful yet, but we're just pointing at the roots. That's our job.
Yeah.
We're the idealists, and we go, no, if you want this to be fixed for good, you got to ignore the symptoms almost, or use them as a roadmap. And a lot of people are just not ready to hear that. You want to fix the thing because the people are suffering, and that's valid. But
that's
it's just going to come back.
And that's a Vipassana mentality. And that's what we've been talking about, holistic approach. If you don't fix the roots or pull the roots out and plant new roots, the branches that you cut off and decorate or whatever, those roots are still at the core. And when you look at nature as an example, we're talking about Vipassana because that's how that method is going to the roots of your psyche and fucking taking out the negatives, the traumas, and starting fresh roots. If we don't do that collectively, those roots will just spring up new branches. It might take 10, 20 years. It might look like the solution is here, but it's not, because the roots are still there. And that's a tougher one to really look at, you know, and it's very, very difficult to look past symptoms and go to the roots and go through to the core.
Yeah,
that's the hard work, man.
Yeah, there's also just a fear of deviating the conversation, because a lot of people are suffering directly, and there's also narratives. There's also just the way it's being presented. A lot of people like me who aren't living this at all in any real way.
Yeah,
I'm just here. I'm just like, that's my opinion or my non-opinion, you know, like I always joke, I say my ass hurts from sitting on the fence so long. Like it's what the fuck do I have to contribute to this, you know? So it's squirrely. It's just fucking squirrely, man. I'm honestly afraid to like dissect it more because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know, call it a fear or a humility or something, but it's like there's so much. You know, there's this phrase I always come back to from the movie Four Rooms. I've probably said it on the podcast already, but it's Four Rooms is a movie from four different directors. And it's the guy from Pulp Fiction who gets up and robs everybody in the diner at the beginning. I forgot his name. He was the dude who gets shot. Well, I mean, everyone gets shot, but the dude from Reservoir Dogs. Spoiler alert.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's true. I
It's
didn't
the
even
same
make
guy,
that
man.
connection. Wow, it's true.
What
Yeah.
the fuck is his name? Damn. Anyway, he plays like a bellhop in a hotel, and in the Tarantino room, obviously Tarantino's in it also because he always puts himself in his movies. But he says this fucking line that I'll never forget. The less a man makes declarative statements, the less apt he is to look foolish in retrospect. And it's pretty much calling people out on their cowardice. It's like you don't want to look stupid, so you don't want to be polarizing. You don't want to have to admit, you don't want to backtrack. You don't want to backpedal. Because backpedaling hurts.
Yeah.
You will double down on your mistakes, even though you know it's a mistake because you don't want to look foolish. And it's like, fuck, man. It stops me from talking, which could be a good thing sometimes. In this case, I don't have what's the word? I don't have a horse in the race.
Yeah.
But I have like stock in the racetrack, let's say. Like we're all humans,
Yeah.
you know? Like it's hard to govern that or balance that. So I don't know.
It is, but I'm lost for words in that whole situation because I don't know where I stand. I don't know where I place in the stand, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Am I in the race? Should I throw the race on purpose? Like it's a very confusing
Yeah.
analogy.
Yeah.
Analogies.
Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
Fucking analogies.
But they definitely get points across sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's useful. Our brains need to chew on shit, man. We can't just some people you can't just hear the direct thing because it doesn't mean anything to you. We need stories. What I heard that in the David Goggins book, he was saying people learn from like reading, like from script, from analogy, or from doing, I guess. Like it's like the only three ways you learn. It was a really cool thing.
I learned from analogies and doing. Reading, I've realized it. And hearing actually is, I guess it's slightly different than reading. But
Well, story. He said that was the word
okay.
he used, was story.
That resonates with me. But text, read and integrate doesn't work for me. I tried for years in schooling and all this stuff and just reading books. I have so many books that I've read, but ask me about them, I can barely remember. But when I hear something, the key points from the Ronnie Coleman podcast, I have so many in my mind that I can shoot back out because it absorbed.
Yeah.
And that's a bigger thing is when you understand how you learn.
Yeah.
And what works for your mind and your brain and your fit, whatever. That's, you know.
You know what's a cool trick too? Because I think a lot of us, unless we're practiced readers, we're like, if you're practiced, you're going to remember like 50% or more. And, you know, kudos to those people. But I'm not a big reader. I never was really. And the thing that's helped me the most, I got this from my friend Christopher. I hope he listens. I haven't talked to him in a while. But he said when you read a book, especially like a nonfiction, like the 4-Hour Work Week or something, like something that's informative, you should have a second book, like a notebook. And as you're reading, you're writing. Yeah. And you have Post-its maybe, like you damage that book, write in the book, highlight, like fuck that book, bro. Yeah. You could push a button on Amazon and get another copy if you need to. Fucking wreck that book but integrate it into your brain. That's why the bullet journal is so cool. I really hope we get this guy on. But the idea of
what's
like,
his name again? Let's put a little shout out.
Ryder Carroll. What a cool name.
Yeah.
Yeah. He kind of looks like Jarl Bernhoft. He's like a musician that I like, and they look similar. Anyway, random thought.
Get him on.
Jarl?
No,
I'm joking. But yeah, the idea of solidifying something, because the way the bullet journaling works is like you transmit a lot of knowledge, like you move a lot of things. If something is like not done today, then you move it to tomorrow. And if it's something that's not important now, then you put it in this kind of like futures agenda. So it's not forgotten, but it's not pressing. And the fact that you're writing and rewriting things, you just repetition. You just you listen, you repeat, and you remember. That's how humans work.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it also feels like
I
this,
will. I'm sorry.
But this bullet journal, I'm definitely not wrong with this, but correct me. This bullet journal is pretty much a book of mindfulness. And the reason things stick more is because you're creating it to the way you works best for you. So you're literally spending all the time creating the boxes, creating the spaces, and then filling it out. So there's so much, instead of just buying like a normal journal where everything's just preset and you're just filling out information routine, which takes 2 minutes, this you're handcrafting this to your specifications. So there's a lot of intention and mindfulness built into this structure.
Nothing to correct. I would add, actually, I definitely agree with you. Like the act of writing, I have a separate journal that's just kind of like a free form, like what did I do today or how do I feel, or a to-do list, or I want to write something to someone and I want to rough draft it. Like that in itself is a mindfulness practice.
Okay.
In the day and age when everything is next, that is just sitting down, even drawing. You know, like people do coloring books, like adult coloring books. Just the act of doing one thing for a long time is in itself the definition of a mindfulness practice.
Yes.
It might not be a deeper, meditative, whatever, blah, 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 but it's still very beneficial. But then you're right. The fact that you invest in it by tweaking it for your needs, by actually having to do all the boxes on a calendar instead of just slapping like you print a calendar, there's a little extra, like the big thing I find with bullet journaling is, in many ways, you're zooming out on your own life and you're seeing the bigger picture. You start seeing patterns. You can even integrate habit trackers. You see the year at a glance, the month at a glance, the week at a glance. And every week you make a new one. Every month you make a new month at a glance. And it's literally this, they call it the bird's eye view. And that's useful because you can jump to last week, 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And it's a more subtle mindfulness of your life. You know, and I've brought it up in the podcast. In yoga, they talk about this like 12-year cycle. And in the presence process, they talk about it in 7 years.
Okay.
And it's this idea that if you can master this cycle, then you master your life. And Aubrey Marcus talks about owning the day.
Yeah.
Every day is the day. You know, like Janis Joplin says, it's all today, man. There is no tomorrow. Like we've seen the terrain. Tomorrow doesn't fucking exist. It's all today, man.
Synchronicities, man, because that's been a repetitive mantra that not just you're saying right now, but all of my friends were talking about. It's like, no, it's today. Like forget tomorrow. Like, what are we doing right now? Let's go train. Let's do this right now. Like, how are you feeling at this moment? Stop planning for the illusions of tomorrow. Obviously, tomorrow is going to come because so far 10 out of 10 times it's happened, but you don't really know. But what you know is this present moment, what you can change and do and apply.
And it's fully informed by your past and your future.
Yeah.
So you don't have to stop and think about the past and future. I mean, you can if you want, but it turns into rumination and worry for a lot of people. Like, it's not people, if someone gets like too intense about that advice and takes it too literally, then it's a cop-out.
Yeah.
You just want to be in the present in a half-assed way. Like, you have a foot in the door thinking that you're present because you feel present. But you might not feel present in the present, and that's your present. So now there is something, your energy is being taken into the past or the future, and you need to address that. And if it's just worry, then just let go of it. Yeah. Just do whatever your work looks like, you know, if it's therapy or yoga or something, you know, but if you're pulled to think about like a birthday coming up and you need to get a gift, like that's not, you're still in the present. It's okay, guys. Like,
that's when you take it too literal. Like you were saying, that's like, that's the present moment, is that anticipation for that day coming, but it's because it's meaningful to you, you know?
In yoga, they talk about rajas, tamas, and sattva. Sattva is like the perfect way to do things, the center space, sort of. And rajasic is like too intense, and tamasic is too dull. And if you're taking something at face value, super literally, that's tamasic. You don't change the recipe, but you're not seeing what's going on. And then rajasic is like, you're changing the recipe. Yeah. And then you're not going to get the same thing. But if you're being honest and centered about it, you might have to change the recipe. But like a lot of fitness trainers will say, like, find something that works, even if it doesn't work that well. You don't know until you try it for a long time. Stick to it.
And then apply the consistency.
Yeah, and
the discipline.
And the modifications come through an honest experience through that consistency.
Yeah.
And
then that's adaptability as well.
Yeah, and I mean, we're talking about it like it's simple, but it's kind of like a fingerprint for each person. But it just comes out. It is simple. It's just that we want control over it. We want to be able to get ahead of it and not make mistakes. And it's like mistakes are the thing.
Yeah.
And I have to tell myself that over and over.
The mistakes are the most valuable part. You know, we forget that, man. We forget that all the time.
And David Goggins is like, that book is just constantly like, fuck up, bro. Like, fuck up on purpose. Look for what are your insecurities? What are your fears? Drive at 100 miles an hour towards them. Because then you're just going to, you might die. Like, you will make mistakes. Big mistake. You might hurt somebody. You might fuck up your life, your finances, your body. Who knows? But you will learn fast.
So many lessons in that.
All the lessons. Yeah. All the lessons.
There's no lessons on when you're on top. Only gratitude when you're doing well, when things are going good, which is nice.
If you're smart.
Yeah.
If you're lucky.
Yeah. But even then, when there's gratitude, it's enjoyment, whatever. But the gratitude came from those fucking mistakes and those pitfalls and all those wrong turns. And then when you get to the destination, even if for a brief moment of gratitude, and then you go right back in the fucking wheel and do it all over again.
It's such a cunt. I can't get over that.
You know,
it's like there's no top. There's no steady.
No, there's.
It's
none.
like a pyramid. Like the higher you get, the wobblier it is. So you have to like either settle for mediocrity and there's a sort of stability, but you're kind of always a little vigilant. So you have like a stability. That's kind of a contentment. That's like what the Buddhists are practicing essentially. But like, do you want that? Do you want to shave your head and just like do walking meditations all day? Or do you want to have big ups and big downs and you just kind of go with that?
Yeah.
You know, like you're surfing. You know, like it's.
Yeah, man. And
I don't know.
But that's where we are. That's where our placement in this planet is. We're clearly in this position to experience those ups and downs. And they talked about in Vipassana. There's the homemakers, you call them. Then there's the monks who've given up everything. But if you're a homeowner or homemaker, whatever they called you, that's your karmic purpose in a sense. It's not about escaping that lifestyle to reach enlightenment. It's about finding the enlightenment in this tough lesson that you're given. A tough environment that you're given. You know, it's not that the monks in Tibet or wherever, they're the only ones that can reach enlightenment. No, we're here right now in our crazy fucking ups and downs, topsy-turvy path. And so many lessons to get there, you know? And
it's like, maybe that's just intimidating no matter who you are, where you are. Like maybe it's a little easier for the Buddhist monks or something because your daily practice, your life is sadhana, your life is daily like meditation stuff. But you can integrate that. You have to integrate that into whatever kind of life you're living. And it gets squirrely because there's a balance of, radical acceptance is weird because sometimes you go, do I leave this the way it is or do I change it? Because both of those are accepting, like it's almost like you have to listen. You have to get good at listening because a part of you goes, no, I can change this and I want to change this. And then that is the acceptance. And that's nuanced. You know, that's a little more granular. But you don't have to shove it up its own ass and get crazy about it. Yeah. That's the last layer you got to worry about. That's still in your garden, at least. But it's
a tough, it's tough to know where you're at and where it's at. In terms of what's the, I wouldn't say right thing to do or right thing to modify, but it's that sweet spot you're talking about. Is just when is it okay? Let it be what it is, or when do I modify? That's a tough one to figure out.
Yeah, this light touch, you know, like you don't stick your hands in your pocket and give up, but you don't try to strong arm everything. That energy doesn't last long. Yeah, neither of them does. So neither of them are honest, I guess.
Let's wrap it at that, brother.
Everyone. I like that.
Yeah. Everyone, this is number 39, gratitude, whatever we're going to call this thing. We'll figure it out. But
back in the fucking studio.
But it's nice to see you in here, man. You know, and I'm sure they're going to enjoy seeing our faces a little bit brighter.
Yeah, the lighting and the whole, like, we just didn't do this for a long time because of the lockdown. It feels good, man.
Yeah.
It feels great.
And you guys are what makes this even better, you know. So
thank you for listening to my voice coming out of whatever speaker. This is nonsense to us. We are having a fun time. We're glad if you're having a fun time. We're gonna keep doing it
Yeah.
because we're just enjoying it. But like, you're a big part of it, and that's new for me, and probably for you too. Like, I don't know what to do with you guys, but thank you,
Yeah.
really, thank you. 1,000 subs, man.
Yeah.
It's not a huge number, but
It's a milestone though.
I didn't think we would get there, or I don't know what I thought.
It's yeah. And that's where we just need to back out of it and let it do its thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. 1,000 here, then 5,000, then 10,000, who knows? Or maybe that's where we stay at 1,000. We just keep you guys. Who the fuck knows? Just let it flow into what it's flowing into. The water stream.
Okay.
We're getting too philosophical here. Let's leave it at that.
That's the